Well, tonight we're going in depth on the recent turmoil at Palm Springs City Hall, recapping the last year really quickly for those of you who haven't been paying attention. The mayor last year did not run for re-election amid conflict of interest allegations. There was a raid at City Hall you might have heard about. No word on what the investigation has turned up just yet. Then new leadership was elected in November, and last week the new mayor, Robert Moon, called for a review of the city manager's and the city attorney's performance. Joining us tonight in a moment is the city manager, David Reddy. First, here's what Mayor Robert Moon had to say last week.
To me, the residents of Palm Springs showed they wanted change. They wanted change in the way the city is run. And they made that change as voters at the ballot box. And now we have a new city council. Well, the majority of the city council is new. So I think the voters expect us, as the people they elected, to now look at our internal operations of the city.
So that was last week. The mayor called a special meeting. It was held last night to talk about the city attorney and also the city manager, David Reddy, who joins us right now. Thank you much for being with us. And so things are a little icy between you and the mayor right now. The important thing is last night they decided to keep the status quo for the moment.
Indeed, and I was heartened that unanimously the City Council reaffirmed my role as City Manager, and so there's a lot of work to do and we're going to get busy with it.
Okay, so you got that vote of confidence from the City Council, but the mayor still said what the mayor said. He also said he talked to you in private, and it sounded like, indicated to you that he did not have confidence. So how do you move on from that with the mayor?
Well, I think it's not, you know, it's not unusual that a new city council would want to look at new leadership and reevaluate, but that's not what happened in the result last night. They unanimously reaffirmed, and there's so many good positive things we have to do, and I think the mayor recognizes that we both have the same goal, what's best for the city, and we're going to get busy.
The mayor did say last week that this wasn't directly related to the raid at City Hall that happened last year, but let's talk about that for a moment. Most of the allegations that we heard about before this happened involve former Mayor Steve Pugnier, and so is there any connection between you and the mayor on this? He was working for a developer. He's also working for the film festival. There are questions about that. We don't know what this investigation turned up, but did you report everything you knew when you should report it and so forth?
Yeah, very simply, when the mayor announced that he had a conflict in closed session, at that point he leaves closed session and he's never had any discussion on any of these developments in closed session again. So that's the important parts, no matter whether it's the mayor or any council member. Once that conflict is stated, then they're not participating.
Okay, and we know of at least one vote that happened, though, where he did make the mistake of voting on a deal that involved one of the developers he was working
Right, he did not in closed session. That was a mistake out in the open session, but that deal never actually transacted. It never went through, and council rescinded it.
Okay, and as city manager, though, do you have any obligation there, or is that onus entirely on him?
Well, that was a mistake for all of us. And again, he did not, the important thing is that he did not participate in that closed session discussion. When it came out on open session on consent, then it was a mistake, but we retracted that and that deal never went through.
Okay, one of the things that has come up in the last week or so is that the city did hire former Riverside County District Attorney Rod Pacheco for legal advice, which is not entirely uncommon when City Hall's raided, that you might seek some legal advice, but it wasn't reported to the public.
Well, at that point when the city attorney made that decision, because the council, like us, we are governed by the Brown Act. So that is something that the city attorney has to deal with. Now, when he made that decision, that was because of a specific expertise and legal advice that we needed to cooperate fully with the FBI and the DA so we could get the city in the best position possible. So that's how that transpired.
Bottom line on this raid and all that investigation, have you been given, as a city manager, any indication from any authorities what, if anything, is going to happen and when it might happen?
No, and again, that was the reason why we try to get the best advice we can, because we want to cooperate fully, as transparent as we can. And so how do we interact with the DA and the FBI? Documents, interviews, whatever they need, and those documents that we gave them, they gave us back, and they're on our website, and we invite anyone to take a look at them. So we want to be as open and transparent as possible.
Okay, very quickly before we go, a little new item up for business is now a new lawsuit aimed at stopping the downtown project from Frank Tyson, his group. Will that impact what's going on downtown?
We don't think so. Obviously, it's going to have an impact, but what we try to do is make sure that everything we do in approving these development agreements and the development entitlements meet the law, and we'll just have to see what happens.
David Reddy, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, John.
We appreciate it.